Can we get it up there?
I saw the forecast, we were gonna be hotter in Denver than in Tampa.
Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, all right.
Hello.
I don't know how I can delete like 200 emails in a day, and then I still have I go through and I still have all these emails.
Well, I shouldn't delete them.
Yeah, eventually your inbox gets full, right?
I feel like I was drowning. Right now I'm treading water.
All right, we are live streaming, everyone.
Okay. We have about 1 more minute. That sounds promising.
There's somebody.
Oh, chief.
Hey.
Bye.
All right, it's 6:01. I want to welcome everybody to the June 20th, 2022 regular work session for Idaho Springs. And first up, skate park update, and welcome.
Thank you. We had such a good time at Public Comment last week. That was awesome. I'm so proud. I'm really impressed that so many people from the skateboard came.
Even with matching shirts.
The matching shirts, that like the planets aligned so that we could have that. I found a friend of a friend who has a screen printer in Georgetown, and we got the tagline approved on Friday, and he printed the shirts on Saturday. I picked them up on Sunday and handed them out on Monday. It was like,
Wow.
how did this just happen? So, and then the folks that spoke after me, I wasn't expecting that. So that was pretty cool to have more support and people willing to, speak about it. Like you said, it takes a lot to get up and talk at public comment. It's not an easy thing to do.
I mean, like in your position, you do it. But for a lot of folks that spoke in public comment, they don't.
Yeah.
And you put yourself out there. Folks regardless,
Speaking is intimidating.
it was nice that so many people cared to turn out. And many people spoke to it. So
It was
that was
so
good.
cool. And then the Wild Bunch, they pulled me aside after the fact, and I don't know what you guys have decided to do with them, but if they do shows, they asked if they could donate to the skate park if it ends up happening. And that was cool too. And then Bruce put out something like a little note and some water out front for the guys that were skateboarding after your meeting. I just left feeling so proud to be a part of this community, and it feels really good when people can rally together around a shared goal. So it was awesome. But that's just a random spiel. Were you planning on?
Sure, let me tee it up,
Cool.
and then I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay,
So, Mayor and Council, we wanted to have a discussion with you this evening about the skate park. Plans for a skate park, give you a little history on it, where things are today, and make an idea for you to think about for how we can try to move this project along. So I think what I'd like to do is turn it over to Cameron just to give a little history, background, and then where we are. And then we'll talk about an idea, if you all, maybe some options for the skate park.
cool. So Tell me, I mean, I could
Sure.
ramble on quite a bit, but what specifically would you like me to report on?
I think just give a little bit of the history of the skate park.
Okay.
Maybe the most recent, I think, kind of the thing, I think, there's a general awareness that there's been some communication with the school district.
Sure.
And maybe citing the skate park up at, north of Building 103.
Sure.
And some of the challenges with that, some of the concerns with that, and that might delay the project, and then how we might try to go a different direction if council was so inclined.
Okay, all right, cool. So it was September that the skateboard formed, and that formed almost organically of a lot of people kind of talking about the same thing at the same time. And then we pulled a meeting together and had a massive amount of turnout. And then from that group, we identified a group of students who then presented to the school board, and they gave a really great presentation about how the Olympic sport that skateboarding has become, and how skateboarding is a sport that appeals to a large segment of students, and it's beyond students who typically are drawn to the more team sport, football, basketball, baseball type sports, and that this is a more inclusive opportunity for all kinds of kids and can give students something to make them want to keep showing up and can really support their success as a student and also mental health. And the school board was way in favor of the idea of integrating a skate park in with their, exploration of experiential learning and the 4-day school week, and that it fits in with the vision for where the school district wants to go. And so in September, they approved school district staff to move forward with exploring the possibility for putting a skate park in at Building 103. And then as things kind of continued to evolve, it got kind of lumped in with the bond campaign. And so a lot of people were seeing imagery that showed what Building 103 could look like if it were to become an elementary school, which the bond did get approved. And the skate park was on that graphic. And so I think that got people really excited about, like, what would that mean for a skate park to happen in Idaho Springs? Well, as it turns out, which is completely fair and understandable, is as they've had a landscape architect come in and project management teams, and they're figuring out, playground space and fire access and parking and what's going to happen with early childcare, that there's a lot of competing needs of Building 103, and they want to put in a skate park, but they can't compromise the things that are important and necessary for a school in order to put in a skate park. And so it's kind of like a hurry up and wait type situation. They have to figure out the plan before they can dedicate anything for a skate park. So in the meantime, our crew as in the skateboard and myself, has done a lot of research on industry standards on skate park sizes. And so we set out a goal to aim high for a 25,000 square foot skate park, willing to go down to 15,000 and have kind of some flexibility within that range. Much smaller than that could work, but that's less than what we are aiming for. So as the school district plans are evolving more and more, the likelihood of getting 15,000 square feet or more is pretty slim. And for the timeline that Andy mentioned, we won't even really have a clear picture of what could be available for a skate park until 2024. And when we're talking about a skate park that is concrete, we probably have a lifetime of 80 to 100 years. 1 year isn't like a big deal, but when you're looking at the skateboard and the students who are on that board, it does seem meaningful that those students can see a skate park happen before they graduate and potentially move away from Prairie County. And we do have some sophomores who are involved. And so that just would be really cool to see it happen before 2024. So that door has not closed in any way whatsoever. But, we looked at the 3 different options that have so far come out from the landscape design. And the one that would provide the largest amount of space for a skate park does kind of encroach up onto the hillside behind Building 103, which would require either some like really innovative design work, which could be cool, of having like a tiered skate park, or excavating further, which either one of those options are gonna come with a pretty big price tag, obviously. And so then to be more on the flat part of that parcel, our square footage would likely be a lot smaller. And so, again, I want to emphasize the fact that that door has not closed, but it would be really cool to explore options for something that could be a bigger skate park. And then we can think about how it could be a destination skate park. More and more people travel far and wide to visit skate parks. And if it were up at the school, there's a good chance it would be closed during school hours. And so, you know, we have 300 days of sunshine here in Colorado, as you all know. It would be a bummer to not be able to skate when the weather would be conducive to skating, but the school's in session, which we respect that the students need to not be dreaming of skateboarding when they're trying to learn about algebra. So understandable, but it would be, I think, potential to have a pretty big impact on our town, to have like a notable skate park that people want to travel to come and visit and then buy a sandwich and get a beer while they're in town, and how that could have a larger impact on our local economy. Does that seem like
That sounds good. That's good.
touched on the bases? Okay.
Any questions so far, well, the status of the skate park effort? We'll talk about options here, an option.
Yeah, you know, I just want to say, from personal experience, I coached Little League here for 5 years. And I gotta tell you, I was very surprised a second field, you know, was entertained. Frankly, we had difficulty fielding a full team. There were times that we would play Gilpin, and Gilpin would borrow one of my players, or I would borrow one of theirs, put them out, you know, and as an outfielder, just so we could play the game. And I bring this up because this park is, you know, going to be relatively pricey. Unfortunately, you know, concrete and steel have just gone through the roof lately. But you know, there would be some savings. My opinion is it would be far less expensive to maintain a skateboard park than the second ball field. And I just felt the second ball field was really short. I mean, maybe if you had like T-ball kids, you know, could utilize it, but regular little leaguers would, could potentially knock them out to I-70. I mean, it wasn't, it isn't a situation where our little league is going to be impacted seriously if we just concentrate on the one good field, which in my opinion is this westernmost field. And I would just say, and encourage council to consider maybe even a bigger picture. Let's say this goes through, and let's say folks are willing to find money and have a skateboard park there. I'm just saying hypothetically, I'd like to see it laid out where, and I believe there's plenty of room to do this, that we still have room to put the tennis courts back and perhaps a basketball court. I think there's more than enough room if we lose that second field, which just my opinion doesn't add a lot to the different things there are to do. And I think that would really be a plus for young folks. Bruce Boynton on here last week, made the point that we've taken a lot of things away from kids. And often the question is, what is there to do? And I hope we're in a position where we're definitely putting things back. We've got the horseshoe pits. We've got 400 acres of mountain biking and hiking trails that are basically in the middle of the city. And if we could do a skateboard park and restore the tennis courts and basketball courts, I mean, that would just, I think that would be the ultimate, and it would make really good use of the recreation area that's down there. Just my thoughts.
I would love to just piggyback onto some of the things that you said. First of all, I agree completely. I have done some research into our historical numbers of baseball, and just like your experience, it has been on a pretty steep decline, even before COVID, which COVID did not help for sure. But simultaneously, our soccer numbers have like super grown. And it's pretty cool. Clear Creek, we're pretty competitive against the other teams that we play from outside the
Good.
county, which is cool. And then our high school team, our girls team is excellent. And so I've met with Justin Watanabe of the school district to talk about this year piloting soccer program up at the middle school, high school. And it is enough square footage. I did the math of because we actually do 4 fields of soccer. We could fit all 4 fields onto the new turf field. And then there's some advantages there because then there's a concession stand, there's bathrooms, there's bleachers. And it's kind of cool for an enrollment perspective because we pull families from Ned and Gilpin and to just see like, this could be your football field. Look at this incredible high school. Maybe that would contribute to some positive growth for enrollment there. And this year we can test it out before any shovels go in the ground and, you know, we can see like, is this a viable solution to the soccer conundrum? So your predecessor, Mayor Hillman, he was talking about putting an Ace hardware or a hardware store down on that field. Now, shortly after I started with the rec district. And so to try to kind of hedge things, I did contact the town of Empire to see about what could we do to restore that field if we did lose a baseball field out here. There is work that would need to be done. The biggest thing is there are groundhogs that have taken up residence in the field. But if we could figure out how to bring that field back to useful space and we suddenly had giant boom in baseball, that would be a nice opportunity to offset any potential loss of field space here. The bus barn park is going to equate to 18,000 square feet of grass space, which could be really good for soccer practice and other programming opportunities for the rec center. In case people are feeling bummed about losing that, you know, that field space, it would be nice to say, well, here's some other field space. And we did talk to the school about putting in a multi-use field up at building 103 instead of the skate park. So kind of hedging some opportunities there. And
What about the baseball field at the high school?
we talked about that too. So because of the water crisis that is happening, well, everywhere, landscaping over there, they're in a tight water situation. And so, you know, I talked to Justin, like, should we turf it? And could that be a partnership with the rec district? And maybe that's more sustainable and less water intensive. So that, yeah, I completely agree. I think that could be a possible option as well. And they'd like to see that space utilized also. So, you know, I think really leaning on the other assets within the county could make this a win across the board. And then I shared this like very aspirational idea with Andy, and I printed off a flyer for everybody tonight. This is a map of the Rendezvous Event Center that's up in Winter Park. And so they have here a skate park next to a lawn space, grassy area, and some other amenities. The amenities that they have are different from what we've talked about with tennis court and a basketball court, but I think that this kind of gives an idea of how we could have a facility that appeals to all the ages, all the activities, and really livens up that space. And I think it could have a very drastic impact on the types of bands that we could pull into Idaho Springs and just the sheer number of people that we could attract to our incredible space. When we first started thinking about this, I did like just pause to think about the stage because it is such a beautiful stage and it is pretty firmly rooted onto its concrete footer. So it would be tough to relocate it. But if we were able to move forward with the design, I think taking this as some inspiration and anchoring the design around the current stage, utilizing that vehicle yard that will be vacated for the public works facility and, you know, figuring out how to maximize that space would be pretty cool. I also found a skate park that's in Oregon that's actually built onto a mountainside. And so that started to make me think like, how can we get creative with that mountainside over there? Because the other picture, the map that Andy provided, you can see how the property lines go pretty significantly back into like the straight up mountain. But
It sure does. I've actually been over there with a 300-foot tape measure
Cool.
going up. And I will tell you, there hasn't been really any effort to try to reclaim level land. I think if you just wanted to go like 20 or 30 feet, it would be real easy.
Mhm,
Because what happened is there was already adequate property.
mhm,
So there wasn't a lot invested in trying to take any of that hillside back.
mhm.
So I think that is something worth looking at as far as some cool things, you know, kind of taking advantage of the angle. Maybe you blend a little bit of it out, but yeah, I think that would really work.
Could be awesome.
Because as you see in the map, there's a good bit of land that goes up the mountainside.
Yeah, a real good bit of land.
How big's this one?
I wanted to try to figure that out and I didn't. So I like where your head's at. I did reach out to their point of contact to just be like, can I pick your brain? And I haven't heard back, but
This is, kind of just as you come in, if you're going to Winter Park off to the right,
I
correct?
think
Is
so.
that where, I remember a lot of the construction going on down in that area, down in Minneris. So
So
that looks familiar.
I'm like dreaming about this now. So I think we're gonna organize like a family rec center trip to go for some live music
cool.
and bring some skateboarders and be like, what would this feel like?
How's this? Yeah, that's a good idea.
What did your numbers say about the declining baseball? Is one field support what the current numbers are?
That's what I was gonna ask you, Scott.
I don't want to say yes without being 100% sure that as far as I went with the data trends, it just was showing a pretty drastic decline. And like you said, it's pretty tough to round out a full team.
But
And
right,
so
I
if we
mean, we gotta
schedule it-
consider, we got 119 new homes. coming
That's
in.
true.
So whatever the numbers are now, they could grow from
Could
that.
change.
That's a
It could
good point.
change. But maybe half of them will start skateboarding, you know?
Well, and if we did like creative
Scott.
scheduling,
Get your longboard out, buddy.
yeah, do it.
Cameron, did you say that
Too old for
the
that.
baseball field up at the high school is not available for?
Not at
recreation?
this time, but they are way interested in getting it usable,
Okay,
but you know,
they just don't want it
funding,
overused with,
they can't use any water right now.
okay.
They're still playing on it though, or practicing.
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I don't think so, but I could be
What,
wrong
that's
on that.
Dave or something?
Yeah,
How are they maintaining the grass?
they're not.
Right, that's a, wow, that's a lot of dead
Space.
It's
space.
a big
That's a big field.
piece of
Yeah.
space, yeah.
Can you do artificial turf baseball or is that not a thing?
Yeah.
You can,
Yeah, I wouldn't see why not.
I mean, I know you do for football. Well, let's just take a look at these maps that are in your packet. And I apologize, I probably should have numbered them or lettered them because I see you have them spread out, which is great. But they may not be in the same order. But the first one is just the site at what we call the sports complex. Everyone got that? It doesn't have any numbers or anything on it. It's just the two baseball fields. Is everybody on that map? Yep. So as Cameron said, there are two baseball fields down there. Also, the Gleis rink is located there
I don't
now.
have one of those.
I have no clue.
Backside.
It looks like, and, oh, John, if you could display it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe we
It
can.
looks just like this.
I don't have that one, Andy.
Oh, okay.
Was yours printed front and back?
Yeah, I can get it.
It's up on that.
Can you do it on the envelope?
there we go.
John, that bubble? Can I?
Ah,
Back page of the agenda.
I didn't look at that.
Is there anything on the back of these?
Saving paper, back page of the agenda. So that just shows the two ball fields. This is city-owned property. It's leased to the recreation district. And the recreation district maintains and manages the operations down there. On the right side of that picture where that 103 is, everybody see that? The 103, that's actually the street address.
Yep.
103, that area right there, sure everybody can probably visualize it. That's currently the public works storage yard, or one of the storage yards, public works. And the plan is that once our public works facility gets constructed, that that area can become available for recreational purposes in this area. It's a nice flat area. So the concept would be,
Andy, I'm sorry,
yes.
that's to the, like the gate for the Forest Service.
That's correct.
Right? Okay, all right.
so
all right.
that dotted yellow line on the east side there,
Gotcha.
that's the city boundary.
Got
That's the Forest Service property on the east side,
Yeah,
where
right,
the 111 is. Yep.
gotcha, okay.
So the concept would be to build not just the skate park, but a number of amenities, recreational amenities that we wanted to build for a number of years. So you could put, because of the size of this site, this east ball field, you could not only put the skate park, maybe a pump track, which is related to the skate park up on the hill, and then a tennis court slash, I'll say volleyball.
Basketball.
Pickleball.
Pickleball, thank you.
Pickleball.
Sorry. Pickleball court, basketball court. And one other thing that is in the Winter Park complex that I've gotten some feedback already on, and just talking to a few people about this, is a playground. That having a playground here and and to get more parking down here, as you all know, when you have an event of any size, you get people parked all the way down East Idaho Springs Road. There's no formalized parking in this area. So you could even add more parking for the remaining ball field and all the other uses down there. So that's our concept. And that's what we wanted to talk with you all about. If you go to the next one, there's a picture that shows the area of the two ball fields, just the ball fields. So you find that there's
That's the one down.
the smaller ball field is about 49,000 square feet, just the ball field. And the larger ball field, the west ball field, is almost 56,000 square feet. And these are rough estimates for all the clear maps. And I just wanted to give you some perspective here. And then if you go to the next one, it shows the east ball field, but the total area that could be usable if we went this direction. So not only the ball field, but the public works storage yard and some of the other space down there that could be used. So you could have up to 80,000, more than 80,000 square feet to work with. Now that would include parking, skate park, tennis court, basketball court, playground. So all that, the thought is, could be accommodated there.
And that 80,000 square feet, it's not even anticipating going up the bank at all for
Correct.
any reason.
This is all just a flat area.
ground,
That's
wow.
exactly right, just a flat area.
How-
And it also
Sorry.
doesn't include that in-between section,
Yep.
which I think could be something.
Jimmy, what do they have for parking on this? I mean, was
That's a good one for my homework list.
Gotcha.
They
Yeah,
have baseball cages still between the two right
Yeah.
now.
Which this would be really cool to help showcase those more.
I'm sure you're talking more people than I have, but most people like it over at the school. They just feel it's easier access for the kids to walk over there.
That's a debatable topic because I
yeah.
think, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Let me let you finish before I
Pardon?
interrupt.
No, it was just, some of the parents just think it's, instead of having to walk all the way down there, if they're walking or taking their skateboard all the way down, it'd be easier up there. That's all.
So Cameron, I think it would be good to share with council some of the feedback at the public meeting you had not too long ago.
For sure.
Both pro and con.
Yeah,
Would you mind just doing a little summary on that?
No.
I attended part of that meeting, but I didn't attend it all, and maybe you could just give the pros and the cons that were received at that community meeting about the skate park going to building 103.
there was a lot, and we got a lot of really great data from that. And we did a SWOT analysis, and so that's actually on the website. And there's like 5 pages to it, so I won't be able to remember all of that.
Just the highlights.
But what you were, to relate to what you were saying, is the access of building 103 is definitely improved if the pedestrian bridge happens over the highway, which, as of my most current awareness, that is not a guarantee. And so then that actually makes this location less favorable to kids accessing it.
Okay.
But I think that people aren't fully thinking about the path of like right here, because that is the most safe. But then down at the ball fields, you know, where the tunnel goes underneath the highway and is now the greenway and is beautified, I think it's actually more safe than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And with activating the other end of town. I'm trying to think, so when we did the public meeting that Andy is referring to, we were joined by a gentleman named Everett. And he used to be a principal of a school that built a skate park next to their school, and they did a lot to like pull in curriculum using the skate park. So he talked about how it could be an asset to education. Everett said that he would be more than happy to come and talk to the city council about how a skate park could have an impact on our town and on our economy and our town and all of that. But so access was a big one for sure for every location possible. One of the reasons why I didn't first think of the ball field is because when we think of the old skate park, some of the pitfalls of that skate park seem like they could exist on the other side. It's on the location, the end of town, hard for the kids over here to get down there. But that was also at a time where we didn't have the roundabout, which that's pretty sweet. The greenway, I think, helps to connect town quite a bit. And then being at the end of a residential section versus being at a sports complex that's a more activated space, I think a lot has improved to make it a more favorable spot down there than the old location. And I can bring in those SWOT or email it to you guys to kind of think through like exactly what community members said and gave feedback on as related to the strengths and weaknesses of the proposal.
I think a weakness of access and that though on the hill,
Yeah,
I can see that being a disaster for,
crashing, you mean?
oh.
Yeah.
Pete, what do you think? It's a steep hill. It's pretty steep and it's pretty sharp underneath the bridge, man. I don't know.
It is, but it's closer to the police station, which is kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I park an ambulance down there. You said, "Where you fine?"
In Winter Park, they rent out sleds. And I was like, man, we could rent out sleds and there's like a really excellent sledding hill.
That'd be awesome. Smash them up, Derby at the end.
Yeah.
You're talking about ice climbing next,
Helmets
right?
required.
Tubing.
So FYI, at the last fire authority meeting, I told Chuck, Kelly informed us that he is working with a superintendent to put the Station 2 over on that, over on land. I don't know the exact location,
Down there?
Joe McCofield.
up at the school.
Oh.
Instead of on our property, because of the relocating the water line and building up to get out of the floodplain, he thinks that he wants to try to put it right here.
Yeah, and he was saying it's just a long, narrow site, so it really kind of constricts the design of the firehouse.
Yeah, he could put a bigger building in, have the ambulance over there. So that, just FYI, I have no clue what's going on, so
Okay.
just so you know,
Yeah.
you might be in competition for land.
Right.
And-
Right.
And it may be a smaller building footprint than any skate park,
Sure.
too, so.
And I mean, even they're looking at a cultural arts performing center. And so, which would be really cool for town, but that also would impact the available space for skate park because of the access that would be required to get to the work.
And what you said about the school, I think makes a lot of sense. There's just still undecided what usage they're gonna make that of there.
Yeah.
So that makes that a little tough to designate it for state park. Skate park right now.
Well, especially adding on, I mean, you know, just the space gets limited pretty fast. You start adding stuff to it and then on and on and on.
Are we at the point for questions? Can I ask a couple?
If I may, let me just go through a couple more maps and then we can
Sorry.
have a little more. No, it's fine. This is what we wanted. It's some good feedback. So the next picture is of the old high school building. They call it Building 103 now. Everybody on that one? You
Yep.
can see the big building there, owned by the school district, of course. And then just north of the main building is a flat area. And there's not much flat area there, but that is, and you can see that's when they had a lot of construction equipment there and storage. But that is a flat area there. There's parking just below, closer to 103. You might be able to see the cars there. And then the flatter area above is a field. But they did have some construction equipment. Just a little aside for, I think most might know, but not everyone might know that little funny square off tilted square there where Idaho Springs is. That's actually a parcel owned by Idaho Springs, and that's where the Jackson Monument is.
Yeah.
So
It was pretty generous. I think we had either like somewhere around 8,000 to 10,000 square feet for that boulder, that commemorates the finding of the gold. So.
Yep. So then the next picture shows the dimensions, rough dimensions. Again, this is off a clear map, but I think it's in the ballpark of that flat area. And the school district, they're doing conceptual design for renovating the old high school into an elementary school. And of course, they have needs for a certain amount of play space. They already have a playground, preschool playground, larger kid playground, that sort of thing. So one of the things, and Cameron and I met with Karen Quanbeck, the superintendent, just said, what if, talk about this idea. What if that area, that open space, that flat area was maximized into a multi-purpose field? So if we lose the east ball field, and there could be a joint agreement with the rec district to manage that with the school district. School district got to have their needs met first, but to have another flat open space that could be used, particularly geared towards the smaller kids, smaller soccer field, t-ball, those sorts of things. It's 27,000 square feet. Give or take, and if you made it any bigger, you'd be digging into the hillside and that sort of thing. So that was the thought, that if we were to go this direction with putting the skate park down at the ball fields, would the school district, and if the skate park wasn't there, would they entertain some sort of joint use agreement to make that space available to the community, not just the school district, but after hours and weekends it could be used by the rec district and by the community. So that was the thought. They haven't committed to anything on that, but we have had a couple meetings with them about that. I think everyone knows that they're running into challenges with constructing the facilities, transportation and facility. What do they call it? Transportation and facilities maintenance building. Anyhow, that would be where the old track was, but the site work there and the retaining wall are going to be quadruple their budget. So they're looking at different options as well, and it may involve putting the fire station somewhere over in that area. That's a possibility. So, so that's the thought. We just wanted to talk with you all about it, get your thoughts before we got too far down this road. It's good timing for us because it is a direction we want to go. We can start budgeting for some of these projects, such as the tennis court and a basketball court, maybe a playground, as early as next year. With council's approval, I want to do that.
So which option do you like better for tennis court, pickleball, et cetera?
I like the idea of further developing the sports complex for recreation. I mean, that's been a long-standing idea for the city to have multiple uses down there. Right now, we only have a couple. We have the baseball fields, and I think that this falls in line with kind of a long-term plan for that area. And I think by having multiple users down there, you have the kids on the playground, you have all ages on the skateboard park, you've got basketball, you've got parents down there with their kids. I think having multiple uses down there and having it further developed is pretty visible from the interstate. I kind of like that concept.
And that parcel to the west, that's out of the question now.
It's sold, isn't it?
I thought you
So I,
jacked the price
I'll
up.
tell you, I saw it jack the price up. He is exactly right, John. I saw it not at 400,000, where we believe that if you want to think that it's not exactly what we may consider an arm's length transaction. But they had it on LoopNet, which is a commercial site, for 1.6 million.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know.
I just want, I'm just reminding that, so the power wires, you can't miss, right? The towers that run through there. And XL has 100 feet either side of the center line.
Yeah.
So that's a 200-foot swath. I have seen, like on South Spring Gulch Road, it get negotiated down to 150-foot swath. But either way, you're talking about a big swath going through there. And in my opinion anyways, they've priced it as if that doesn't exist.
And there's no water and sewer over there.
Thank you, Scott. You're exactly right.
And the greenway's right there.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's,
Is there
how many
water?
acres is that?
Well, I want to say it's like 8.7 or, I'm sorry, how much?
19.02.
Oh, 19, okay, but if you measure it out, there's just a fraction of that that's really
What's
usable.
usable, yeah.
4.5 probably that's useful.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of that's for parking under the wires.
Yeah, right. Right.
Does the
So,
Forest Service property have water and sewer?
No, they have a small water, am I right, John, that?
we
had a-
have water, they don't have sewer.
It's a small water line, right, John?
So they have
It's a small
housing
water
there,
line, right?
Yeah,
It's what, 2 inch or something?
yeah, it's a 2-inch water line.
and they do housing there without the sewer?
Yeah, they have the summer help there,
Yeah.
the wildland firefighter.
Do they have a holding tank or do they do portalets?
I think they have a holding tank.
Okay. Forest Service property is probably out of the question too.
Well, they wouldn't sell it, they would swap land. If you
Yeah.
can find land to
If they
swap,
could
they
swap.
might consider that, but I don't know where else they go.
Well, to me, it's quite clear there's a lot more flexibility with that property down there to do more things than just skate park.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
When we got to talking, that's really what became evident to us, that's why I wanted to talk with you all about it.
Well, what happens to Ace? I thought Ace was looking for property. I didn't think this was available. But if it's available, was Ace ever shown that?
Ace was not really interested in this site. They were concerned about getting water and sewer over there and cost. They really would like to be closer to the downtown.
That was before they just built a kick-ass Ace at Evergreen.
Sure, that's happened in recent time.
Yeah.
We haven't heard a lot lately from the Ace owner in Granby about the interest in building here.
Is that a different owner in Evergreen?
Yes,
Owner
yes.
from the-
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the one
Right,
at Boston,
keepers.
there's a couple others.
So, Bottom line, I don't, the Ace hardware owner we were speaking with was not interested in that one. It was considered just because we're trying to find a space to accommodate them, because
Well, I'm just seeing, you know, when we got those apartments coming in, hopefully that, you know,
Yeah, they are.
if we have any other developments. We won't, but if we do it very small, we have to start looking at grocery stores and hardware stores and all that other stuff. So if this isn't available, it's not available, but that's gonna stymie any growth of this place. Town without having places for additional businesses, which is fine with me.
well, as
We've
Cameron
struggled
mentioned,
with the land thing for a long time, having
Right.
enough available land for everything.
I know it.
as Cameron mentioned earlier, we are gonna be getting the park space there south of the rec center. So that'll be a usable space, again, maybe mostly for smaller kids, but it'll be a nice big green space for smaller kids, which we don't have now. And we have the open space, but we don't have the use of it. So that's gonna be right there for the rec center to be able to use with its programs. So that will be a green space, a usable public space that we will gain. And again, I would like to suggest that we work with the school district to make sure that this green space up here at Building 103 can be used by the community and not just by the school. I would like to, and I think they're receptive to that. There's still a lot of unknowns they're dealing with and cost overruns and all of that, but I just think that that's in the community's interest.
When you said this gentleman came in that was a principal at another school and he had a skateboard, was it adjacent to the school?
Mhm.
Very close to the school? So what did he do when school was in place, in session as far as that?
I think it was open.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is helping, he's from Canada, I think I mentioned that, he's from Canada, he's working on developing Canada's skateboarding team. He's helped to build 400 skate parks. He knows a lot about this space and he's helped us because he's excited about the industry.
I
So,
think it's a great idea, just want to make sure that it's available for commercial development.
Are we trying to look for direction tonight?
I think we just like to have some direction from council, whether this is a way you'd like to go. And again, we could start putting together the proposal and what it might look like. And again, we're going to be in the budget season here soon. So what we might want to try to accomplish next year. And I think the skateboard team would like to know, okay, is this a possibility or not? But if it looks like we can go this way, then let's put our energy this direction.
I have a question about the months of the year. Is this a 12-month skate park? Is down there at the ball field, is the sun shading in the wintertime a concern? I don't
I'm
know how
glad
much.
you- sorry.
Okay.
I'm excited. So I thought about that a lot. In the winter time against the hillside there, it turns into a glacier basically, because there's a lot of snow buildup. But closer to the highway where the sun does shine, that we don't have an issue with any kind of snow removal at that time, which in my opinion would make a good case for orienting the skate park closer to the highway and putting the basketball and the tennis court more in the shade, because I don't think people are gonna be wanting to play tennis in December anyway.
Not as many.
Yeah, and they can come into that.
Should the parking area be on the backside up against the hill, part of it? That's
I don't know. I mean, I
Or-
think we'd have to get some expert insight on that. Someone today told me that maybe there would be an opportunity to rent parking spots from the Forest Service, maybe. I don't know if that's a possibility, but that's definitely like many steps.
Well, you know, it sure looks like that's what the community would like. We lost what most would say was probably not the best skateboard park. You know, if we had the ability to gain a great modern skateboard park, I think the kids would get a lot of use out of it. It's pretty clear.
And kids from outside.
Oh, yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility that you're gonna see that big influx in usage from all around.
Yeah. We found like a map of all the skate parks. I mean, it's like a 40-mile radius.
Yeah.
Just none around here. So people will drive to Denver or up to Summit County.
Cameron, you're absolutely right about money turning over in the economy. You know, you have a fun day skateboarding.
Right.
Let's get some lunch.
Yeah.
You know, sure.
Not only that, I thought the presentation last week about some of the guys that were raised in our cities, where having these activities, so the people don't wander into, you know, dark side of life. So I think that, you know, that's a good plus too that we're not talking about. I don't mind for drugs and things like that. I want the chief, everyone say that, but this, from that viewpoint, is good as well. I think.
What kind of maintenance is required for a skate park?
Filling in any cracks from the concrete over time, replacing the coping on
The rails and
recurring
stuff.
cycle, yeah.
Drainage. It's a
Drainage.
big-
We would want to build it in a way that accommodates for that. But when I think it was said tonight that the cost of maintaining a baseball field versus the annual cost I am curious to crunch those numbers.
Well, I mean, I'm just,
I think
with water
minimal.
usage alone. It's a big
Seems
deal.
pretty compelling without
In
even,
today's world.
yeah.
How about liability, or something like that?
So I did look into that as well. Fortunately, when you insure a swimming pool, you're like insured to the gills. And so to add a skate park to the CCMRD insurance coverage would equate to approximately $1,000 to our annual premium. And so, just thinking about like cost recovery for CCMRD, one big event and we could cost recover that insurance premium. That's optimistic, but
Oh, Lisa, I see your hands up. Sorry about that.
A virtual hand.
Virtual.
Sorry about that. I was having a hard time unmuting. I really like the idea of the skate park as part of a sports complex, because one of the things that I heard from kids around here is that they didn't like the skate park down at the end of that residential area because it was sort of remote. I think if you have a skate park with a playground and, the courts or whatever, that means that there are more people. There's less chance for it to feel remote and creepy. And I also like the idea that you can walk the greenway to it. And I will tell you this as somebody that sits on the school board's accountability team, like building over there where the skate park was initially thought of, it's going to be really expensive, because that's part of what Andy said is very true. Part of the problem with building on the track, the geological costs for dealing with that are astronomical. And I think if we can combine our park amenities for our town, I just think it's better if you have it in one place.
All right, well, thank you, Lisa. I agree.
Well, this might be premature, but concession stands or food trucks?
Now, that's a whole other thing, I think. And that's a whole other deal with, right, because that's permits, isn't it, Andy? Yeah, am I correct, wonder and stuff, is that, right?
There's a concession stand there, isn't there?
Well,
Sorts.
yeah, back when I coached, I mean, that was a pretty popular place. Everybody brought money for hot chocolate or popcorn or hot.
Of course,
Things like that. So, yeah, that's actually on the south end of the field.
but not food trucks.
There-
Right.
It's stuff.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, I didn't know there was one.
Well, and
Yeah,
just
there's concessions.
to date myself, that was before food trucks were really a thing.
A thing, yeah.
Right. They probably would be there now.
Oh, yeah.
We've also been working with the rec district really extensively over the last few months to really develop a new plan for them to have events at the sports complex. A lot of times they fall into this crack where they need a special event permit to do that, but that's not really what they're doing. So we're trying to develop a new process for them that'll make it easier to manage these kinds of things if that is the case in the future.
Good, all right. I hear it.
We had a food truck come down for our event on Saturday and they sold out. It was super awesome. And then our
Wow, I'd like to hear
concession
that.
stand did really well too. So yeah, that's great.
Good.
All right, anything else, council? Andy?
So, okay to move forward with conceptual design for what the space might look like on the east field?
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, Lisa, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Okay, we'll bring that back to council at a future time,
I
so.
have a quick question unrelated, but the other night we came by, the lights were on. Did somebody manage to turn those lights off?
Yeah, we
It
have
was
an
pretty
app.
Late at night.
We've had some recent turnover, so I apologize for that, but I think we've now got it all.
That's from the rec district, right? When you guys before.
Correct, yeah, we can do it by phone.
That's cool.
Sorry. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
All right.
That's another advantage to doing it down there, which I just want to say is lighting infrastructure is obviously super expensive and it's nice to be able to light your skate park for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And so to already have that in our favor is compelling and some pretty considerable cost savings. Because when we were talking about building 103, it's like lights are going to be a future phase. Like we'll do that in January.
Right.
So
Well, Cameron, thank you very much. Appreciate
thank
you coming.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate the time and we'll connect.
We'll connect and bring back, and we'll keep you in the loop and come back with a conceptual design. I think that'll probably be the next step.
Sweet. All right, cool. Go Avs.
Again, we'll
Yeah.
also work with the school district, because I feel pretty strongly that if the skate park doesn't go to building 103, which looks like that's the direction we're going, it won't go there. I think that space really should be used to its best, to the best it can be, you know, for just, because we just don't have a lot of, you know, open space, green space.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
1-1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, close game, all right.
Next up is family medical leave insurance.
Mayor and council, mine is not quite as exciting as the skate park.
Yeah, I will.
Come on, spice it up.
In November of 2020, Colorado voters approved a new Proposition 118, which creates a state-run family medical leave insurance program. It's run through the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, and it creates a new division there, family and medical leave insurance. It provides paid leave and health care to individuals that are taking care of life events for an injury of themselves or a loved one or family member. It also can provide job protections for employees who are employed before the beginning of their paid leave. It's available to all employees in Colorado. Our city council needs to make a decision as to whether or not the city wants to officially participate in the program. We are automatically going to be enrolled in the program and locked in for 3 years unless we opt out. If we opt out, we do have to renew again in 8 years. So it's a kind of a process that you have to recertify every period that it goes. If we do enroll, I put this information in my staff report, but just kind of going through it, we're required to pay what looks like a fairly significant amount of individual wages to these premiums. This amount has not been set yet. There's a lot of things about this act or this new program that's just not quite developed yet. And so there's some variability into what people say. It's probably going to be, if the city participates, we'd be required to pay 50% of the premium, and then the employee would be able to participate for the other 50%, or we could pay for that. If we decide to opt out, individual employees of the city can still participate. So we can all participate on our own if we decide to do that, and the state would pay the other half of the premiums instead of the city. In my staff report, I recommended that we opt out of this program at this time and that we pass a resolution formalizing this action. I put a couple of reasons why. The first one is that this program just hasn't really been developed yet. We don't know what the fiscal impact will be on the city budget. And it's going to face legal challenges because it requires employee participation in the program. If we don't participate, any employee can participate if they want. If we do opt in, all of our employees have to participate and have to pay that premium. That kind of covers the basics of my staff report. If you guys have any questions about opting out or opting in the process, I'm happy to share that. Either way, we have to do an employee notification to make sure everybody knows they can participate in this new program. That's something we have to do 180 days before the program goes into effect, and they don't really have the website completely developed yet. So we can't, we're kind of waiting until fall until the state's got all their pieces together. And it may be, as they go forward, that this is the program we want to participate in. We have a similar insurance program through AFLAC right now that we offer in long-term disability. And it may be that eventually this program cost-wise is a better deal for our employees. Right now, it's just a lot of question marks, and it doesn't quite look like that's the case. So that's
Jonathan, I saw they're gonna start collecting the premiums January 2023, but you couldn't receive any benefits before January 1st, 2024.
correct.
That seemed odd.
That sounds like the government.
I mean, really. Jimmy, it's like I was wondering what the advantage would be, who would participate. I don't,
Yeah,
I'm at a loss. I
exactly.
mean,
Haven't really been.
Give us your money
You can
for a
put
year.
your money in a savings.
Yeah,
account,
give us
right?
your money for a year.
But you might not be at that job when your savings are ready to be drawn out.
Yeah.
They are portable benefits. If you participate, you can take them job to job. But the point still stands. The other thing with this whole thing is that the rules about even how it interacts with FLSA and other employment law isn't clear. It's not clear that this isn't breaking other federal and state law. Or not breaking, but they don't maybe mesh as well as they should. So,
I heard some things out.
yeah.
I mean, it seems like at this point, we would opt out. I mean, I hope.
And we can opt in anytime we want, any fiscal year, at the beginning of any fiscal year. So,
Yeah, that sounds like a no-brainer.
okay.
It's like Social Security, they might just decide they can use that money for something else.
Right.
There you go.
Put it in a lockbox.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So Mayor, we could have a resolution for your consideration at next regular meeting or at a regular meeting for this would be the next step.
All right, I'm just thinking the general consensus of council is that we do not participate, at least at this point.
Yes,
Would everybody be all right with that?
yes, yes.
Okay. All right, Lisa, I see your hands up.
So I think that this is a good idea on the principle, but I don't think they have it together. I would like to ask that if we do this, that we revisit this yearly. I know it's sort of nuisancey, but if they get it together and it becomes a better program than what we have going, I think it cheats our employees not to give them the opportunity to be part of that.
At least I think folks would be very willing to look at that on a yearly basis, because right now, that's our biggest concern is it's clear as mud right now.
One
So
other,
they can still opt in.
yeah, one other
I know
note
it's
is
still opt in.
every employee is still eligible for it, and we will tell every employee, we are required by law to tell every employee they can participate. The only difference is that the state will pay the other half of the premium instead of the city for right now. And it doesn't provide the employer protection that your job is protected if you work there for 180 days. But there are other Fair Labor Act standards that are going to apply that essentially do the same thing. So I think revisiting is a good idea because we'll probably have some clarity in 2023 about what's going to happen, but we do want to make sure every employee can participate now if they so desire.
Oh, absolutely. I just want, when I'm okay with us opting out right now. I would just like to see that we will revisit this, if they pull all of the strings together and make this a more streamlined program.
All right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, so with like Aflac, let's say, which the city offers, yes.
Yeah.
Why would anybody even consider this ever?
It was brought to the state ballot initiative, which is sometimes an interesting process in Colorado. And, there's always this interplay between local control, which is like cities kind of running their business as a city, and then the state saying, hey, you need to do these things. And this is one of those ones that I think that a really great idea, but just, the way that it came through, it didn't quite, because we may have a better program. It may end up that our program is better than what the state could offer. And I think it's one of those ideas, like Lisa said, that is just not quite all the way put together yet.
Well, I don't know anything better than Aflac, but
Yeah, it's a really cool program. It gives, hospital stay coverage and a couple other things that we have. And then the long-term disability program, which is relatively new for the city. I think that started, is that last year?
Council approved that last year.
But it's pretty robust what we can offer right now. So maybe it'll be a, cost savings eventually, but I think.
gotcha.
All right. Anything else on this one? All right, then we'll move on to water and sewer staff reorganization. Tom, come on up.
Well, Mayor and council, members of the jury. Recently, I've been talking to the mayor and Andy about the wastewater department. I've come kind of to the conclusion and we've discussed. Currently, we're under Wayne Ramey as ORC. As you see in my staff report, we pay him a considerable amount of money for nothing, honestly. I don't think the guys have even talked to him since last year. So we're paying him quite a bit. We do have 2 employees that are qualified down there. And we currently have Paul Crane doing the ORC for collections and distribution. So what I'd like to do, what we discussed, is put public works superintendent or director, whatever you want to call it, and then have our employees do the ORC portion of the reporting for the state. And that's kind of the direction that I'd like to go.
Does that position ORC do they carry liability with that? Is that part of the reason we're paying them that much?
I didn't hear.
Do they carry some type of liability for the plant? Is that why?
If you don't have an ROC,
ORC, since we're contracting it with do they have some kind of liability? That if something happened that was not within the boundaries? I mean, why is it so expensive? Just because he carries a license or?
If something does happen, it's his license. That's
His
on the line.
responsibility,
His
right?
responsibility to make sure that it's running correctly. And currently, all these guys do all the monthly paperwork. They
So
send
no-
it to Wayne Ramey, secretary, and she compiles this information and Wayne Ramey hits the okay button to the state.
And that's
And
the only thing that I could see that we're losing with them for paying them this amount of money.
And
Is
still,
some type of
even though
liability to oversee the,
he has liability, it would be the city that would get fined if something happened, no matter who was in charge.
Yeah, he's gonna push the buck anyway.
Yeah, and that could be, they don't have a hearing too.
Yeah.
And that could go either way.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard people like Ray getting sued, for getting fined for it, so.
Yeah, and I will
That's
tell you that
temporary.
the wastewater treatment plant right now, our effluent numbers are lower than they have been in years and years and years. Our phosphorus, nitrous, and not nitrous, but nitrates are all extremely low. And these guys, Ed and Billy, have done an outstanding job running that plant. And there are two people in the state that know the plant that very, very few people in the United States know how to run this type of plant. There's only a couple of these plants in the United States.
Impressive.
Yeah, and all the more reason to promote from within. No one would know it like our folks.
On that matter, it sounds like we got people to designate to these positions, all of them already, the public works overseer too. Yeah,
Well, no, not really. I mean, I was been temporarily appointed to that position.
Well, we wouldn't short of, an employee by any means, would we, John?
No,
Well, I talked to 3 of the former employees, and one of their reasons, Souls is church staff on there, and when Wayne took over, Dan Wolf left, I was a poor employee that we lost, because Ramey doesn't do
right.
anything. So I've heard that they're concerned about, you
Well,
know,
and
short
that's
staff.
part of it too, is we have a vacant position. I want to fill that
Yeah.
vacant position
right.
to get 4 people back down there.
Give us
Whether
more of
it's
a
a-
workforce.
Yeah. You know, for those guys' sake, there's 3 of them currently, and they do a fantastic job.
So
They
these
have-
positions will have to be advertised on a method, or can we just promote
We
within?
can promote from within. It would be an added duty via ORC role. And so we would give them a bump in pay for that. So it'd be a promotion.
And it's still gonna be cheaper than.
Yeah.
Paying,
Right.
Exactly.
So a promotion with
Cool.
the reclassification of their duties or whatever.
That's exactly right. Yep. So we would modify the job descriptions and those would be brought back to
Yeah.
council for formal approval.
If you do it that way, then you don't have to publicly notify for new job openings.
Correct. Now, we would openly post the entry level position for operator down there.
Right.
Which is the vacancy right now.
and back to like what you said, Scott, that, I mean, the liabilities fall on the city anyway, right?
And
So,
it would fall on
I
that
think-
employee. I mean, if they
Well,
knowingly
of
did
course.
something, yes.
yeah,
They're liable for it. We have advertised for this position twice before. The first time, I don't think we really even got any.
We got a few,
candidates.
but none of them were qualified. Yeah.
And then the second time, we thought we had a candidate, but he decided he didn't want it. So like I say, you can advertise this across the state, across the nation, and you're
you're
probably
limited,
not
you're
going to
limited
find
to
somebody
the,
that's operating, you won't find anybody that's operated this type of plant.
sure. Well, good for those fellas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Congrats to them,
Absolutely.
dude, and you, and, I mean, everybody involved for, you know, and then probably just day by day training them themselves on what's what, I'm sure.
They have done a
So,
great job.
yeah, that's cool.
So if that's the direction that the council would like to go, then.
Everybody all right with this?
Continue.
Okay. All right, John Bardoni, thank you very much for
Yeah,
bringing us to our attention.
That's cool.
We'll get started on it and get, position descriptions rewritten and go from there.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
thank you.
Should I make it quick?
Thank you, John.
Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Don't say anything about the avalanche.
Okay.
I'm recording it. I don't want to know.
Scott already ruined it.
I know.
Got it right here.
I got it.
No worries. Yeah, Scott's gonna do it again.
We do have a meeting next week.
Yep.
We have a meeting next week.
All right, all right.
Just a meeting or work session?
We have a short work session, John, I think you said, maybe half hour, right? 6:30 is what we talked about, and then 7 o'clock will be the regular meeting.
All right. All right, well, we had a short one tonight, 7:09, so pretty good.